Welcome to the Ghostly Gallery podcast, a place where we explore the world of horror in film, literature, and popular culture. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. My name is Bruce Markison. As always, I'm joined by producer and co-host Tracy Asteria. Tracy, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Bruce. How are you?
Doing pretty well. As we get closer and closer to Halloween, got some really interesting shows coming up, including this one, where we're going to talk to a guy who is an expert on special effects artist, RJ Young. We'll introduce him in a moment. We'll also be previewing the Shock-tober Fest event, which is going to be coming up Saturday, October 26th in Oneonta, New York, not too far from my home base in Cooperstown, New York. So we're looking forward to those events coming up. As I said, today our guest is special effects master and artist RJ Young. He has been involved in filmmaking since 2016. That's when he created the short film called Meat Lovers. And then in 2018, he worked on a film for Lloyd Kaufman and Troma films. Since then, RJ has worked on several other Troma productions with Lloyd Kaufman. In 2023, RJ appeared at the Shock-tober event in Oneonta, New York. He performed on stage a number of blood gags. We'll explain what those are later on. And he'll also be appearing at this year's Shock-tober Fest. And again, that's coming up Saturday, October 26th in Oneonta, New York. RJ, welcome to the Ghostly Gallery. How are you?
Hey, guys. Thank you. Doing well. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Well, we really appreciate you coming on. And as always, we thank our mutual connection, Greg Klein, who's very involved in film and the Shock-tober event. And he helped set up this interview for us. RJ, before we get into some of your special effects and makeup work, let's talk a little bit about how you first became interested in horror movies. Is this something that goes back to your youngest days as a child, or did that happen a little bit later on?
Oh, yeah. Definitely. It started as a child. I would have to say probably around 4 years old is when I first got introduced to like monsters and horror movies. My dad was a big movie lover, and I had the opportunity to watch a lot of, I guess, interesting films growing up as a kid. I guess the first movie that really grabbed my attention was the Godzilla films. I was really attracted to like creatures and monsters, and I would always draw them on my spare time. Whenever I had a pen in my hand or anything, I would just draw monsters and creatures. And then as I got a little bit older, probably a few years later, around 7 or 8 years old, I watched American Werewolf in London on TV, and that was probably the first movie that really scared me. And I just loved the transformation scene in that, and I just couldn't believe what I was watching. And as I got a little bit older, I realized that like people actually make these creatures. There's a job creating monsters essentially that that people do, and it's just something that I really wanted to do and always wanted to do. And thankfully, as years went on, I got more involved with it, and today I get I'm working on more independent films, so to speak, but it's fun, man. I enjoy the whole process.
You mentioned that your father
Yeah.
liked the genre of horror. Did you guys watch films together?
hmm Oh yeah, for sure. Yep. It was usually every night when he'd come home from work, he'd pop on a movie, and it wasn't always a horror film, but you know, it was anything that was on like, HBO back in the day. And then he would also take me to the video store and rent movies. And if anything had a cool cover on it, I was all about it. I was like, well, that's a cool cover. I got to watch that. The good old days of VHS art, which is kind of a lost art these days, but I feel like it's slowly coming back.
Oh, exactly. You've mentioned some really good horror movies. I have to agree, American Werewolf in London. That was like one of the first ones that I saw growing up as a kid, and that gave me nightmares for years. Like it was
Same.
terrifying for me.
Hmm.
So overall, like, what is your absolute favorite horror film? Do you have one?
I would have to say American Werewolf in London is definitely in my top five. The Thing is just a classic in my mind, in my opinion. Yeah, I would say those two are my go-to ones. And then I love a lot of the Friday the 13th films, especially part four, the final chapter. That one is probably my favorite out of the whole series. The Nightmare on Elm Streets.
Nice.
Um, yeah, I don't know if you guys have seen the movie Waxwork. Have you
I
seen that?
haven't. No.
I
It's
have seen that.
you
Yes.
should check it out when you can. It's a good one. Where the wax figures, if you go like if you step into the enclosure where they are, like you get transformed into that world. And if you die like within that setting, you become part of the wax work, so to speak. You know, you're part of the setting.
Oh my
Pretty
gosh. Oh,
neat.
that sounds cool.
Yeah, it's a fun movie. That was another one I watched as a kid, and it's definitely on my top 10 list.
Oh, geez. I'll have to add that to my ever growing list to watch too.
Yeah, yeah, yep.
Aside from Godzilla that you were speaking of, was there a certain
Hmm.
film that was pivotal in your decision to pursue the course of the special effects industry?
I wouldn't say it was one film per se. It was actually a documentary on Tom Savini that they had back in the day. It was you could buy it on VHS back in the day, and it was called Scream Greats. And the first one was on Tom Savini, who is a special makeup effects artist from, he's been doing work from, I'd say, the 80s all the way up until now. He's still around doing his thing. But I saw that as a kid because he worked on the original Friday the 13th. Uh, he also did part four,
Mhm.
and he did Day of the Dead. Um, just countless horror movies that I watched as a child. And when I happened to see it on TV one night, and he just talks about the whole process of making monsters from step one to the final step, and basically just gives you encouragement to say like this is something you can do and pursue if you actually put the time and effort in. And that after I saw that, I was like, wow, I think I can do this if I put in the work and the effort.
Oh, wow. Oh,
You
that's
know,
Have you
so
ever met
cool.
Tom?
Thank you.
you're welcome. I haven't met Tom.
Yeah.
No, I keep missing him. It's a shame. I hope to meet him one day though. But there was a convention that I was at last year, the year before, and I left the day before he showed up.
Mhm.
He showed up the following day, but I keep missing him. But one of these days, it's going to happen, hopefully.
I had a chance to meet
And
him
Rick
here.
Baker was another. Oh, did
Oh,
you?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, Rick Baker was
that's
great.
good.
Absolutely. Yeah. I had a chance to meet Tom Zaffini
Yeah, he's another
actually a
one of
few
my
years
favorites.
ago at Monster Bash in Pennsylvania. And he was all alone at a table. And he has kind of an intimidating look.
Hmm.
And I didn't really have any money to buy any of his stuff. So I kind of
Right.
felt awkward about it. And I didn't want to go up to him without buying something. I didn't want to just say, hey, I really admire your work. So I kind of chickened out. And I sort of regret doing that because you never know when you'll have
Hmm.
another chance to do it. He's an absolute master. He's one of the leading special effects guys now and really has been going back probably to the early 1980s. Some of
And he
your
has a
work
school as well
in
too.
special effects. He has a school?
Yeah, in Pittsburgh. Yep, a special makeup
Really?
effects school. Yep,
I didn't know
something
that.
I considered going to, but yeah.
Let's move up to the year 2016. That's really when you started your work in special effects. What had you been doing before then?
Yes.
And
Yep.
what prompted you to make this really important career change?
Well, before that, I was trying to pursue a career in music. I'm a guitar player as well. I like to play guitar and music and create music. That was kind of like my goal then was to be in a band and play shows. And it's a hard thing to get into and to actually make money with, especially nowadays with, you can get music for free on the internet. Um, so back then I was just trying to pursue that as much as possible. And, being in a band it's like being married to four or, three people. How many people are in a band? It's like being married to each and every one of those people. And, it's just a lot of work and dedication. And it just wasn't working out. And I decided to move to Portland, Oregon with my girlfriend at the time just for a change. She had a job out there that she was a graphic designer and she got a good job out there and was offered to a job in Portland to live and work. So I went with her and it was the best thing I ever did because I ended up meeting, like I said, my buddy Rocco, who is a writer and director, and plus Portland. I don't know if you guys have ever been there. It has a really good horror scene. Like just an art scene in general is really good out there. And I had never been to the West Coast, so it was like a big mind eye opener for me when I first moved out there. And yeah, I met my buddy Rocco. He was an aspiring filmmaker, and he created a bunch of little shorts, videos growing up, and I can't remember exactly how we found each other. I can't remember how we found each other, to be honest with you, but he contacted me and we had a meeting and we talked and he showed me the script to the movie, a short film that he was doing called Meat Lovers. And we had no money for it. It was very, very low budget. But it was basically just a short film on a pizza delivery boy who delivers a pizza to the wrong house and ends up getting kidnapped by this satanic cult. The pizza boy ends up fighting back and basically kills the cult one by one. And so I had to figure out a few different kills for each of the characters, and with no money, by the way. But we made it work, and it was a lot of fun. Yeah, we did. I look back on it now, and it's hard for me to watch just because it's just like I said, we had no money, so we were doing whatever we could to make the things look decent, the effects look decent. But it was fun, and it was a good thing. A good thing came out of it because I ended up moving back to New York, but he shortly thereafter, like a year or two later, moved to New York City, and we reconnected. And that short film it got into the Troma Dance Film Festival. It was selected, and that's how we met Lloyd Kaufman and all the guys at Troma. And since then, we kind of after that we had a relationship with Troma, and Lloyd liked the movie and everything. And then the year after, 2018, Lloyd directed and wrote Shakespeare's Shitstorm. And I got to work on that with an effects artist, Eric Fox, who was on the show. I don't know if you ever heard of the show Face Off on Sci-Fi.
Sure.
And got to work with him hand in hand. And he showed me like just so much stuff that I wasn't akin to at the time. And it just opened my mind to all these other possibilities on how to do things. And it was about a month shoot. And like I said, I worked side by side with Eric, and he just showed me all different ways to do things that, like I said, didn't know or wasn't aware of. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me because it was basically like going to a filmmaking school for a month. You know, that was my filmmaking school because I got to see how a film was created from conception all the way to the end, you know, and it was great. It was a really good time. A lot of hard work. I realized how hard it is to make a movie. The fact that a movie is even made is kind of crazy, you know, it's a miracle. And yeah, it was just a really good time. And it was supposed to be Lloyd's last movie, but this past summer he just wrote and directed one more. I We'll see if it's his last one, um but yeah, after that I had a really good relationship with the Troma crew. They're based out of New York City, so it's not too far from me. And I've done some other films after that that were produced by Troma, um, and we've had a good working relationship since then. And I also do I've worked with other people as well, but I would say Lloyd is probably the most well known that I've worked with, the Troma crew. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Troma. They've been
Oh,
around
sure.
since like the late 70s.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like the longest running independent uh, film company.
Yeah, I'd like to talk more about
And
Lloyd and Troma in a moment, but I want to just circle back to your work with Eric Fox. So was he kind of your mentor? Was he
mhm,
really kind of the guy that almost trained you to do this?
I would say, yeah, absolutely. Because since before that, I was just YouTube was kind of YouTube wasn't what it isn't what it was now back then, especially in like the late two or 2010 ish or so. There wasn't a lot of tutorials on how to do things, and I was just kind of just making it up as I went. I could always draw and paint, and I like sculpting, but as far as like making molds and casting people, like taking a face cast and all that, like I had no idea how to do any of that. And on the film, he showed me how to do a lot of those things. And I was also fortunate enough to work with Eric again, maybe 2 years after that. Um, I went to his shop and worked with him out in California for like a week. And that's where I really learned how to make molds, and just he just showed me the ins and outs of running a shop and creating monsters, from drawing the creature to sculpting it to casting it and then to painting it and to the final thing that you have, that you're created. And
Sure.
yeah, it was very mind blowing experience to be working hand in hand, because before I met Eric, I was a huge fan of that TV show Face Off, and I remember watching him on season 4 and just rooting for him the whole time. And then when I was told that I was going to be working on the film, and they said, "Oh yeah, you're going to be working with Eric Fox," and I was like, "Oh my god, that Eric Fox from Face Off!" And yeah, it was.
Hmm.
I was super excited, to say the least.
A few years back,
Um,
I met a guy at the Scaricon convention in upstate New York, and I think he was on Face Off as well. He was a terrific makeup
mhm.
artist. Since sadly has passed away. His name was Cleve Hall. Did you know Cleve at all?
I don't know. Name doesn't ring a bell.
No. Okay. All right. I
Was he
believe
was
he was
older? He
one
was
of
an
the.
older guy, an older.
He was probably in his 60s, and he died just a couple of years
Okay.
ago. I got to, have dinner with him and meet him, and he was a great guy. He was another guy that kind of looked intimidating. He had almost a vampirish look to him, the way he made himself up, but a super nice guy. And I want to say that he was maybe one of the advisors, or, one of the professionals on that show Face Off. If it wasn't Face Off, it was another show. And I was just curious that maybe you had met Cleve along the way. I wanted to go back to that first production, RJ, that you did, Meat Lovers. And you say you look back on it now and it's kind of primitive because you were just starting out. But did you also, in addition to
Hmm.
doing the special effects, did you also act in that?
I did not act in it. No, it was. I think it was one. I think it was 5 people in the film altogether, but no, I didn't act in it.
Yeah. So you
I
still
have
do.
acted in other films since then,
Oh, really?
but nothing crazy.
Yeah.
nothing crazy. I did nothing with any lines really, so to speak. More just kind of like not a stand-in, but like an extra, so to speak.
Your
Yeah,
true love
but
is doing
yeah, Meat Lovers was great though.
the special effects and the makeup.
Yeah,
That's your true calling.
yep. I'm better behind the camera than in front of it.
Okay.
Yep,
Let's talk about working for Lloyd
yep,
Kaufman, who really is a legendary figure, kind of a colorful personality. He's actually posted on the Facebook
absolutely.
page that I started a few years ago, the Ghostly Gallery. Tell us what he is like. I've never met him in person, never interviewed him, though I'd love to have him on the show.
Mhm.
What is he like on a personal level?
He's great. He has one of the greatest sense of humors that I have ever met. Somebody that I've ever met. He for being a guy who's older, he's probably in his late 70s right now, I think. But he has the energy of a teenager, especially on set. There would be days. I think the longest day we worked on Shitstorm was, I think it was a 20-hour day, 21-hour day, something crazy like that. And that man was there from morning until all the way to the end. We were, until the end of the day, and it just blew my mind that somebody like that's been around as long as he has and done the things that he's done that will actually still show up to a set and just give it his all. And you can just tell how passionate he is when he's on set working. He has a tendency to yell a little bit, but it's all just passion and creativity that's coming out of him. Like he's a great guy. He's got a really fun personality. Um, he's a jokester, you know, and he has really good ideas. I mean, there would be times when, like, say an effect wasn't really working for whatever reason, and then Lloyd would make a suggestion to maybe change it or do something different, and ended up working better than the original thing that was planned. So he's just got a lot of experience and a lot of know-how to do things, and it's just great. He's a great guy, and I feel very fortunate to have met him and to have worked with him on numerous things.
You say he has a tendency to yell. Would you call him an old school director?
Yeah, exactly. Very old school. When he says action, it's not okay, action, everybody. It's action. You know.
Yeah.
And if you mess up on something, he'll let you know. Like if he's not happy, he'll let you know he's not happy. But he'll also let you know that he likes something. He's not afraid to like shower you with compliments either, which is also nice. He'll break you down and then build you back up again. You know.
Mhm. With some directors,
But it's
actors are
good.
able to ad lib, they're able to improvise. Can
Mhm.
you do that with Lloyd Kaufman? Does he allow that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yep. He's not set to the script, so to speak. Like a lot of the times, a lot of what he captures is just improv. It just depends too on, how fast things are moving. If we have time to actually work on the scene longer than usual, if we can do more takes, that's great. He loves that. But yeah, he's very open to suggestion for sure.
He's a very interesting guy.
And he acts a lot too. He's a great actor.
Yeah.
Sorry, to me to
No, that's fine.
interrupt you. He's a very good actor as well. he
Yeah.
likes he does a lot of acting as well as directing. So especially nowadays, I can't count how many movies I've seen him in, like more independent films that I'll be watching, and also then Lloyd will just pop up out of nowhere. Like he's on the Hatchet movies. That he was on one of those films. He's just been on a bunch of different stuff, and it's like where's Waldo type of thing. It's like, oh, there's Lloyd.
I don't know how true this is, but I've heard that some of the mainstream people in horror, they kind of resent him a little bit. Maybe they don't like the kind of movies that he does. His is a very, very campy, in your
Hmm.
face style. It's not for everyone. I'm wondering, does he talk at all about that?
Right.
Or does he feel that kind of resentment from the quote unquote establishment?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I would say yeah. But he also just kind of jokes about it at this point in his life. I mean, back in the day, he was very gung ho about, you know, sticking it to the Hollywood, just sticking it to Hollywood and showing them that, like, hey, a little rinky dink independent film company can produce some good stuff if you just give it the time of day. Yeah, he's great. He jokes about it now. I mean, his wife she's retired now, but she was the film commissioner of New York City for a long time. So I think that helped Troma a little bit, to get their product out there. But yeah, I mean, the guy's made a living. This is all he's ever done his whole life. So, and the fact that he's still doing it just goes to show you that hard work and dedication, you can go pretty far, and you don't have to be in Hollywood to do it.
You said he's planning to do one more film and then retire?
Yeah, well, he was planning on retiring back in 2018 with that last film, but this past summer, a couple of months ago, they just wrapped a film that they were shooting up here in upstate New York in the Catskills. It's called The Power of Positive Murder. Unfortunately, I didn't get to work on that one. I was busy working on something else, so I wasn't able to be involved with it. I kind of was a little bit. One of the producers was asking me, like asking me if I could like help out the effects person that they had to like just help them out with a few things, give them some suggestions on how to do things. Um, and that's the thing with Troma is they'll hire people that don't necessarily have a lot of experience, but if they are passionate and have good work ethic, they'll hire you, whether you've worked on movies in the past or not, he'll give you a chance. And so that was great. The effects person that did the movie that I'm talking about, I'm good friends with now. So, you know, it's just really cool to see that Troma's around and gives those kind of opportunities to people because, you know, in Hollywood, it's you kind of have to know somebody to get in a lot of times, or it's kind of like you got to be the cool kid to get in type of thing. But Troma's always been the kind of company that if you do good work and you can show them something, then they'll hire you. And yeah, and it's really great to see that because if it wasn't for him doing that to me, I probably wouldn't be doing what I do now, you know.
Oh, wow. I think that's really amazing because the independent artists, the independent film companies, I mean, they have so much to offer and they really do grab some awesome talent. So I have high regards for like all those independent films.
Hmm.
So, I
I
think
mean,
that's great.
look at Terrifier 3. That just came out this past weekend. That's made like $18 million, I guess, this weekend.
That's
And
right.
that's an independent film, you know.
No, I've been really getting into a lot of the independent filmmakers. So I appreciate that. I'm going to put some of these on
Hmm.
my list too, just to kind of watch some of their works.
Yeah.
Another person that you've worked with, Rocco Zevenbergen. I hope I said
Yes.
that right.
Yep. That's it.
tell,
Yep.
tell us about Rocco.
Rocco's a great guy. He's a little younger than me. He lives in New York City. He has his own production company called Bad Taste Video. Um, like I said, I worked with him on Meat Lovers, and then in 2019, when he was still living in Portland, we made a film called "I Need You Dead," which was filmed entirely in Portland, Oregon. But I got the chance to work with Eric Fox again on that because Rocco hired him to build one of the creatures, the main creature that you see in the movie.
Mhm.
And then myself and another effects artist, Jackie, we did all like the blood gags and stuff like that. But that movie actually got a lot of buzz, and Fangoria talked about it. It was a cool thing to go from Meat Lovers to I Need You Dead. It was a big jump in production and everything, even though we didn't have a big budget for it by any means. But as far as like making that was his first feature film. And it got some really good attention, and you can actually watch it on Tubi. I believe it's on Tubi. Yeah, and so we did that. The only downfall after we were done filming, COVID hit, so he wasn't really able to get it out there. So it took a little while to put it out there, so to speak. And once it did, it got some attention. And after that was done, last summer we started a film called Flapjacks, which he wrote and directed. Well, it's not finished yet. We're about halfway done. We started filming in Troy, New York last year. And yeah, that was an even bigger jump from I Need You Dead to Flapjacks. We had $150,000 budget on Flapjacks. I Need You Dead, I think, was about 20,000. So it was quite the leap in production. It's just not finished yet. So we're hoping to finish it this coming year. But I would say it's probably going to have some of my best work as far as effects and anything that I've done in the past. I was tasked to make a 16-foot long, 4-foot tall flesh tunnel for a dream sequence in the film where this character's like crawling through it. And so I had to build that, which was a lot of fun. And unfortunately, we haven't filmed it yet. It's sitting in a storage unit right now in 4 different pieces. But yeah, that was a lot of fun to build. It had bladders inside of it, so like part of it was like pulsating and stuff, and it was really neat. I'm really proud of it. Yeah, and it was just gag effect after effect in that film. There's so many effects in that movie. We had to hire other artists as well. It wasn't just me. There's no way I could have done it all by myself, but it was a big collaboration of myself, my friend Jackie, who was an effects artist, and these 2 people from Siberia who were effects artists. They actually worked on the last Hellraiser movie that they did, I think, a couple years ago. I don't know, the new Hellraiser film.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, it was great to work alongside all those people, and that's the one thing I love about effects and just working in movies in general, because it's a collaborative thing, and I'm just always learning, like, all the time, and getting better and better, and that's what I love about it most.
Oh, what was it like working with some of the special effects people from Serbia?
It was good. They had a really good sense of humor. They were a little nervous coming over from across the pond. They were a little nervous coming over, and they were thinking that, like, oh, I hope these people like us. I hope they're not going to be, mad that we're coming over here and getting involved and stepping on their toes. And I was just like, no, man, please. There's so many effects. Get over here. We need you.
Oh,
So
wow.
it was great. It was good. We filmed one sequence where we're in a restaurant, and there's a bunch of people like melting down. And so that was the one big effect sequence that we did film. But basically, all that's left is to film all the other effects that are left. We got all the dialogue and all the other stuff out of the way. Now it's basically, we just got to shoot the effects, which, like I said, hopefully next summer we'll be able to do that. But Rocco's great. He's a super talented guy. He's a drummer as well. He plays in this band Medium, who are actually coming up from the city next weekend, and we're going to be filming a music video for their band in one of the graveyards out here in East Springfield. And I'm making them all up as zombies.
Oh,
So
how cool.
that'll be a lot of fun. yeah, he's just a really talented, driven guy, and I'm very thankful to have met him and be friends with him. He's got a bright future, I think.
I love the title of the movie, Flapjacks. I take it, though, it has nothing to do with pancakes,
Yeah.
right?
Well, basically, what it is, I'll give you a quick synopsis of it. It's this. There's this guy that works at a fast food restaurant, and he's very eager make to bring back this item called flapjacks, which they used to sell back in the day, but they discontinued it. So he's very eager to bring it back and to show everybody at the restaurant that, because the restaurant's kind of falling apart, it's kind of slowly dying. So he's trying to bring it back to life by bringing this item, flapjacks, back. So the recipe, it's basically an alien movie. So the recipe is actually from a group of aliens that have come down to Earth and have been here for a while and kind of integrated themselves in society. And they have this item called flapjacks, and one of the aliens is one of the corporate people that run the restaurant, and so they get this recipe, and what it does is when people eat the flapjacks, you get addicted to it. It's like a drug. You need more and more of it. And when you don't have it, you start to deteriorate.
Hmm.
And eventually, the more you eat, the more you eat of it, the more it makes you start to deteriorate. And you become basically a pile of sludge that the aliens like want to take back to their place in the universe. And that's how they stay alive, is by feeding this recipe to the masses, and basically that's their food. And there's other storylines in it, but that's just like the basic plot of the movie. But there's some other stuff in there as well, that's kind of interesting. But yeah, it's kind of like a horror comedy,
Mhm.
alien flick. Um, but it's good. It's really good. The effects are really good. The acting's really good. He sent me a trailer a couple weeks ago. He just went to um, one of the big Stygia film festivals. I'm probably not pronouncing that right, but he just went there recently trying to get people to maybe invest in the film to finish it, and I think he did. So, like I said, I think next year we're going to schedule to shoot the rest of it probably in the summer.
Movie's a little bit reminiscent of a film that came out in the 1980s called The Stuff. You ever seen that?
Yes, yes, yep, yep. I would say that was probably one of his inspirations in writing it for
I
sure.
see.
Yep, because when
Yeah.
we were talking about the effects, he's like, that scene in the movie Stuff,
Mhm.
they kind of like look like batter, like the people, like that was kind of what he was going for.
Mhm.
And I can't tell you how many gallons of tapioca starch and food coloring I had to make this slimy sludge stuff that people deteriorated into. It was fun.
You mentioned a couple of moments ago, RJ, the movie I Need You Dead, which I believe is on Tubi, as you mentioned. Quickly, what is that about?
That that's a dark movie. There's some comedy in it, but it's very dark. It's basically about this self-conscious, very shy, introverted kid who's an artist, and he's struggling in life to figure out what he wants to do with himself, and he's always constantly battling, himself and his ideas, and he gets shot down a lot by people saying he's not good enough, and he ends up there's a creature that basically bursts that he bursts. It's kind of like his inner his inner doubt kind of is birthed into like this creature that kind of just follows him around for the movie, and basically just tries to chew him up and and basically kill him. Like it's basically like he's killing himself, but there's a creature that you see in the film that is basically, his, like I said, it's him, but it's good. It's very dark and not something you'd expect. Like, it's way different from Flapjacks.
Mhm.
Um, it's a movie within a movie too. So it's basically a thing where, like, saying the movie's basically saying if you're a creative person and you want to do something with that creativity, whether it is make a movie, music, whatever you want to do, to just keep going and not doubt yourself, because if you do, you'll just end up, you're just killing yourself basically. And the creature in it is a lot of fun. It's a puppet creature that Eric Fox made. Yeah, it's fun. And in the movie, like I said, it's a movie within a movie. So the director Rocco actually plays in the movie as the director. And as the movie goes on, the production just keeps getting worse and worse because the director is just fighting with himself to make the movie, and people are shooting down his ideas left and right. And by the end of the movie, he's just like, basically, you know, there's not much left to him by the end of the movie. He's on his last limb, so to speak. And but yeah, if you can check it out, it's good. It starts off as one thing, and then by the end of the movie, it's something totally different. It takes a 180, because it first starts off as like a normal movie, and then it cuts to like people behind the camera. So you're like, oh, what's this? So you're actually seeing the movie get made, but also seeing it fall apart in the process. And it's really neat. It's unique. When he first showed me the script, I was a little confused on how we were going to make it work, but it seemed to work out in the end, and it got some good buzz.
I did check out the trailer last night, just to prepare for today, and it looks pretty cool. I will have to watch the full movie, so I appreciate. There was like a couple of different trailers, and
Right.
I watched the first one, and it was pretty
Mhm.
cool. It looked like a fun ride, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Yep.
So I wanted to go to your special effects for a second. Um,
Mhm.
so special effects is like this huge field. Do you ever incorporate any CGI into your work at all, or is it completely all hands-on work? Or do you have a
Um,
preference?
Most of the time it's all hands on. A lot of the films I do, CGI is just kind of a lot of the CGI is really expensive.
Mhm.
So we try to do everything practically. We do some green screen stuff when it's needed for like
Right.
background stuff, but most of the work that I've done on films, it's all practical, and that's what I prefer anyway. I mean, I don't mind CG if it's incorporated well, if it kind of goes hand in hand with the practical stuff. There's a good way to
Mhm.
just marry the two where it looks believable and good, but a lot of the times it's either all CGI, or they do incorporate the CGI with the practical, but they just don't do it
Mhm.
well, and it kind of takes you out of the movie. But I prefer practical all the way. I'm sure any effects artist would say that, but and plus I grew up in, late 80s, early 90s when CGI wasn't really around. So that's just kind
Right.
of what I prefer.
If you had unlimited budget and you could do absolutely any kind of effect you wanted to do, is there something that's on your wish list that you would love?
Yeah, I want to do a werewolf transformation really badly. Just like similar to the one in, The Howling or American Werewolf in London, something like that. I would
Mhm.
love to do a werewolf film.
Yeah.
Budget would be a problem. Yeah, budget it would have to be a good budget for sure. But I have my ideas on how to make, like, I know how to do it. Thankfully, like, I've done the
Mhm.
research on how to actually do a transformation. But yeah, it would take a lot of money and a lot of time to build everything, and I'd want to do it all practical too, no CGI.
Right.
That's what took me out of it. Have you guys seen the Wolfman, the recent Wolfman
No,
with
I've not
Benicio
seen
del
the recent
Toro?
one.
Yeah, that was, I think,
Yep.
Rick Baker's last movie that he did effects for. And yeah, I guess he had this whole transformation scene ready to go, and in the very end, they ended up saying, no, we're just going to do it CGI. And I think that was what made Rick say, okay, this is my last movie because I see where things are going now. And he just wasn't into it. But I still like the movie. You know, I thought it was good. The werewolf looked great in it. Like Benicio's werewolf is
Yeah.
great. It's just the transformation ended up being all CGI, which is
Mhm.
unfortunate, but you know, it is what it
Yeah.
is.
RJ, one of the things that we turned up in doing research for this interview with you, there was a mention somewhere on the internet that you had worked on Shudder's The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs. Is that true?
I worked on season 5, the last episode. They did a Day of the Dead episode where they showed the movie Day of the Dead, and at the end of the episode, they hired me to basically rip him in half, like they did in the movie, like Rhodes' character in Day of the Dead. I don't know if you remember at the end, he gets ripped in half by the zombies
Mm-hmm.
from like torso down. And they basically hired me to do the same thing to Joe Bob. And we did it. We made it. It worked. I only had like 2 days to make it work though, because it was a last minute thing. I guess they had somebody that they hired to do it, but they backed out last minute. And my friend Rocco was one of the producers on the show, and he asked me last minute. He's like, "Hey man, we're in a bind here. Do you think you could do this effect on Joe Bob?" And I was like, "Well, I'll give it a shot." You know, I mean, we only have what, like 2 or 3 days to make it happen. I'll see what I can do, and it actually turned out pretty good considering the time that we had. Um, yeah, if you have Shutter, you can see the episode.
How'd you like?
I'm actually in it as one of the
Yeah.
zombies.
How'd you like working with Joe Bob?
Oh, he's great, man. I used to watch him growing up on Monster Vision on TNT, so talking to him was great. He's just awesome. He knows everything there is to know about movies too. I mean, you name it, he's seen it. It was good. Like how we did the effect, we basically built a platform for him to lay under, and then he had like a chair that he could sit on,
Hmm.
and the platform, he was basically just his top half was sticking out of the platform, and and the rest of the body you didn't see, but he was just sitting there in a comfy chair, just having a good time, just being like, man, this is the most comfortable and relaxed I've ever been filming something. And yeah, he was really great, man. He's a really good guy, really nice guy too.
I've met him at several
What's that?
conventions. He's a little quieter in real life than he is on the show, and he's very
Mm-hmm.
boisterous and
For
energetic.
sure.
But he is a very nice guy, real gentleman. I've always been curious,
Yep.
where is that studio located?
Well, season 5, I think that was the season. From season 1 to season 5, they were filming in New Jersey. I can't remember the name of the studio. I think it was, I can't remember the name of the studio, but it was located in New Jersey. Now they're filming in Georgia. So everything's down there now. But for the first 5 seasons, they were filming in New Jersey.
So, RJ, in our final few minutes here, I wanted to take some time to talk about the horror convention that's coming up. It's called Shock-tober Fest. It'll be in Oneonta at the Foothills Performing Arts Center. You were at last year's event. I understand that your demonstration involved blood gags. What exactly is a blood gag?
Well, anytime you see, when you're watching a movie, anytime you see like somebody getting shot and blood coming out of them, or a cut, a laceration of some sort, like a throat slit, anything like that, that's, we call it a blood gag. And last October, I got to, at Shocktober Fest, I got to go up on stage and demonstrate just like a few different blood gags. The main one was a slit throat that we did. We did like a machete gag. It was like a real machete that I cut it, like I cut a piece out to like fit on the actor's neck. Um, and we did a few other smaller gags. And I basically got up on stage, and I didn't realize there was going to be the crowd was going to be so close to where we were. And I ended up getting like the first row, ended up getting some blood sprayed on them, which they were pretty happy about. They enjoyed it. They were good sports about it. So this year, I'm just going to warn everybody, like, you can sit close, but I can't guarantee you that I won't get blood on you. But yeah, it was a good time.
Okay.
Yeah, this year I'm going to do a zombie makeup. We're doing the guy, Jeffrey Doyle, who's heading up the festival. He wants me to do zombies this year. So I think I'm going to have a little booth set up, and myself, and I might have another effects friend of mine help me. And we're just going to do a zombie makeup on somebody. I'm not sure who exactly that is yet, but we're going to do a zombie makeup. And then I'm also going to incorporate some blood gags to that zombie makeup, so I can go up on stage and kind of just demonstrate the gag really quick. And I might even, if we have time, I might just kind of go up on stage, and instead of applying it somewhere else, I might just apply the gag right up on stage and just tell people how to do it, show people how to do it. Because last year I kind of just put everything together in the back and then went up on stage and demonstrated it. I think this year he kind of wants me to, kind of just tell people how to give people an idea of how some of this is done. So it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm curious how long it would take to make someone up to look like a zombie. How long a process?
It just depends. If you're doing like an out of kit makeup with no prosthetics, it'd probably take an hour or so, 45 minutes to an hour. That's one thing I got to get better at is my time management, because I want everything to look perfect. But and I can work on something all day, But for a out of kit zombie, you could probably do it within less than an hour, 45 minutes or so. If I had to, I could probably do 1.5 hours. I actually have a prosthetic right here. This is one of the prosthetics that I'm doing for this zombie shoot next weekend. It's foam latex. And this basically just goes over. I glue it down to the actor's face. And
Oh, cool.
yeah, I'm going to do some painting on it and then basically apply it and paint it, and it's good to go.
If you were to make me up as a zombie, I bet you could do it faster because I'm a little bit pale to begin with.
Yeah. Yeah. That's funny you say that, though, because I did a film about a month ago in the city, and the director wanted zombies that were more in the vein of like Dawn of the Dead. So it wasn't prosthetics. It was just like makeup, basically. And I did a test on my mom, and she's older, and so I did a test on her, and like when I put the makeup on, it accentuated all her wrinkles, and it just made it look so much cooler. I was like, man, this just made this makeup so much better.
So RJ is going to be one of the people performing at this year's Shock-tober Fest. It is coming up on Saturday, October 26th, 3 p.m. to 12 midnight. And that's in Oneonta, New York at the Foothills Performing Arts Center. Nice facility. There is a website we wanted to give out to people, and we'll also have this posted on our show page as well. It's foothills.ticketleap.com/shock-toberfest-2024. And I'll read that one more time, foothills.ticketleap.com/shock-toberfest-2024. You can learn more about the event. They're going to have axe throwing, tattoo artists. They're going to show films, including the Rocky Horror Picture Show. That'll, of course, be later at night. I think that'll be the concluding program, take them right up until midnight. And RJ will be there doing his zombie makeup and creations. RJ, we really appreciate your time. It's been a lot of fun. Thanks for being with us here on the Ghostly Gallery.
Yes, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it. I really do. And I just want to give a huge shout out to Oxigo Film. Um, if anybody that's listening to this is a filmmaker and wants to shoot in upstate New York, I highly recommend you get in touch with Oxigo Media or Oxigo Film. They're a really good production company here in the Oneonta area, and I recently worked with them on a movie this past spring, and it was one of the best experiences I ever had on making a movie. So I highly recommend if anybody out there wants to make a movie in the upstate New York region to get a hold of them.
Nice.
What was that movie, by the way?
Yes, thank you. It's called The Sailor Man. And unfortunately, I can't really talk about it because I had to sign a contract, but it'll be out next spring or this coming spring. And all I can say is I think the people, once it's seen, people are going to like it a lot. I think it's some of the best work I've ever done, and I'm really excited for it.
Well, so am I. As someone who lives in Cooperstown, it's great to see more and more films being made in our town, also in Oneonta. We've had some actors who have been involved on that local horror scene in the central New York area. It's something that's growing, and this is really becoming a nice hotbed of horror activity, horror filmmaking. Again, our thanks to R.J. Young. R.J. has done a number of films. He has worked for Lloyd Kaufman and Troma Films, and he will be at Shock-tober Fest coming up October 26th in Oneonta, New York at the Foothills Performing Arts Center. My thanks to RJ. Of course, thanks to co-host and producer Tracy Asteria. We appreciate all of you joining us in this Museum of the Macabre, and we hope we'll see you again next time right here in the Ghostly Gallery.